as is very clear. Jonathan Charles will try to go to him later. Now, do you know who John Galt is? If you're a devotee of the cult novelist Ayn Rand, not a large breed in this country, then you'll know that John Galt is the pseudonym of someone whose identity no one knows. It's also apparently the code name used by a loose coalition of disgruntled young conservatives for the person they want to lead a possible breakaway party. Ayn Rand might not be the most familiar political guru in this country, but her work, robustly libertarian in outlook, has had great influence on right-wing thinking in America. David Grossman has been finding out what lessons she has for supporters here.
I've been Ayn Randed, nearly branded a communist, 'cause I'm left-handed.
Powers decamp from Westminster for the summer, and while the cats are off sunning themselves, a few Tory mice have, it seems, focused their holiday reading on an obscure novelist, Ayn Rand. So what is it about a writer who died 20 years ago and who most people in this country have never heard of that still holds a grip on the imagination of many of today's conservatives? Well, Ayn Rand was the first writer to suggest a moral justification for capitalism. She said that greed is good decades before Gordon Gekko had even tried on his first pair of stripy braces. Rand's key work is Atlas Shrugged. A Library of Congress survey called it the most influential book in America after the Bible. It describes what would happen to society if all the go-getters got up and went. The state withers and chaos ensues.
The hero of the novel is called John Galt, but nobody ever sees John Galt. He's the man who is persuading the capitalists to withdraw their support for the state system. So one of the kind of buzzwords of this, particularly these young conservatives saying, who is John Galt? What they're saying is, who is it behind this change which they're trying to implement within the Conservative Party?
Rand's life reads like a Jeffrey Archer novel. She was born Alicia Rosenbaum in Russia in 1905. She fled the communists to America, working first as a Hollywood extra. She began thinking about what it was that made America work. Her first novel, designed to be a concrete ideology of Americanism, has outlasted any of her movies. Rand's profoundly atheist philosophy holds that reality is objective. Facts are independent from feeling. She emphasizes reason and the self-interest of the individual. And most radically, she argues that laissez-faire capitalism is the only moral system, where government exists only to guarantee rights.
We'd also see a defence of individual liberty in all areas, other areas of life. The removal of all elements of censorship, of political speech, of sexual expression and so on. Certainly the legalisation of all drugs, the removal of all laws against private consensual sexual activities, prostitution, so on and so on. I think certainly in a lot of those social areas you'd see a rather larger impact, but in terms of economics, really a more radical approach.
While many modern politicians are tweak on the tiller managerialists, Ayn Rand was a broad-sweep visionary who celebrated the heroic achievement of the individual. Her influence across the Atlantic is profound. For example, she inspired those well-known prog rock political economists, Rush. One of Rand's shorter-haired and slightly more reserved disciples, though, is the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Alan Greenspan.
A philosophy that teaches the virtues of personal responsibility, of productivity, of rationality, of trying to figure out how you're going to make it in the world on your own, and, very important, self-esteem, of being proud of the fact that you made your own way. This is the philosophy of Ayn Rand, and therefore this is the philosophy that especially rings true to America and Americans.
Theresa Gorman met Rand in the 60s and became an instant convert. But she's sceptical that Britain will ever take to Rand in the same way as America has, that the mythical John Galt will ever reveal himself here.
I don't know that the countries really were ready for it. You know, there was an author who said that people don't actually want freedom. They like living as well-managed battery hens, and I think in this country the people here have become acclimatized to that system to some extent. But what Rand would do, of course, would simply close down all these welfare systems and say to people, you know, you keep your money, make your own choices, choose your health, your education, and so on. I don't think the Conservative Party is willing to go that far.
I've been Ayn Randed, nearly branded a communist, 'cause I'm left-handed. That's the hand to use. Well, never mind.
Going to a far-off place is, of course, what holidays are all about. But does the future of the Conservative Party really lie in the novels of a dead American ideologist? Or will these young Tories find their holiday romance doesn't outlast the baggage carousel?
Well, we